Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the parking lot preview. This is Thursday, July 25th, and we're right here at McKeon Park, Mike, for hopefully a good matchup today.
Hopefully a good matchup. Hopefully a matchup regardless, because yesterday's game obviously clouded, fogged out, rained out.
I'd say.
Oh, fogged out probably, yeah. Still clouds in the sky today, but should get the game in. We're about 90% sure, 99% sure. So should get a game in. Hopefully another good matchup. But yeah, just hoping to get at least 5 innings at least.
Yep, Mike, you alluded to it yesterday. We're supposed to travel to Chatham to take on the Anglers. Fortunately, as I pull into the Chatham Anglers parking lot, I get a ring from our assistant general manager informing us the game had gotten canceled. That game will take place this coming Sunday, the day after the 2024 Cape Cod Baseball League All-Star Game presented by Milton Cat. But tonight, Mike, we're looking to watch the Hyannis Harborhawks host the Orleans Firebirds. Look at the records. Looks like it should be a victory for the Harborhawks as we host a 17-13-1 record, as there are some literal Harborhawks floating above us. Orleans Firebirds with an 11-20 record, Mike. You can't look at that. The Orleans Firebirds are now a playoff team. They've snuck into 4th place in the East. It's a very competitive league here. Every team is dangerous.
It's a battle of the birds tonight. I'm excited for it. You mentioned it. Orleans has picked things up as of late, and it's been in large part due to Harwich kind of not picking things up, to say the least. They've struggled as of late. Shout out Matt Skillings, writer for the Harwich Mariners. Talked to him last night. He said things are hopefully going to turn around, but he was hoping that we would beat Orleans tonight to get them closer to a playoff position. So you mentioned Orleans now in 4th place in the East after being in 5th for a while there. Harwich finally moving down to that 5th spot. Orleans, though, picking things up, getting things together. They've been pretty hot as of late. Hyannis coming off some tough losses, but overall, it should be a good matchup again. Battle of the Birds should be an interesting one.
Mike, we know as well as everyone that the Orleans Firebirds are a respectable team regardless of what their record shows. So far in the season, 1-2 record against them. To find that one win, you're going to have to travel all the way back to June when we earned a 6-3 victory. And then, shocking, 2 times we played them on the road, Mike. 2 tough losses. Lost 3-1 in a shortened game with missed. And then we lost another one 4-3 in a very close affair at their ballpark.
Yeah, overall, just 2 games to forget. We mentioned the road struggles every episode, it seems like. So, obviously, home game tonight. Don't have to worry about that. Hopefully, Harborhawks able to come away with a win.
Mike, one thing I think that's worth noting when you look at those scores that showcases kind of the strength of the Orleans Firebirds team is every game has been close and low scoring. Orleans Firebirds, very respectable pitching staff. Talon Fang, who thank goodness we won't see tonight, is leading the Cape Cod Baseball League in strikeouts for a pitcher. Phenomenal starters, phenomenal bullpen arms for this Firebirds teams, making them a sneaky competitive team to go against. The Harborhawks have had a struggling offense so far, Mike. What do you think this lineup's going to need to do to attack a good pitching staff in Orleans?
Well, they need to get back to what they were doing at the beginning of the season, which was getting on base at a high rate. And we've seen spurts of that here and there as of late, but really it just hasn't been consistent enough to have a lot of runs being scored. Now, it also goes back to the team was getting out to an early start back at the beginning of the year and really having a lot of success in that department. And a lot of these games, we keep mentioning it, the weather, calling these games early sometimes, and other games, mercy rules. So a lot of these games are getting called early. The quicker you can get out to a good start offensively, better off you'll be. And Hyannis was doing that very well and really just needs to get back to that. I think, being patient at the plate, discipline, all that stuff, getting on base, walks, hit by pitches, whatever. Work your arms on the other end and just keep things going, keep runners on base, and then that timely hitting, obviously, super important as well, which we haven't seen as much success in that department as of late as well. So overall, I mean, the offense for the Harborhawks really has not been great in many departments as of late, but plenty of time to fix things around. You got 9 games left. All-Star game, really not really an all-star break anymore. It's really just one day. But you're going to need to figure things out before the playoffs, and here's a game that you can really start things off against a good pitching staff. As you mentioned, Orleans has had a lot of success with their arms. This is a good game to really show if the bats are going to turn things around or not.
For sure. And Mike, we're going to get into this pitching matchup in a little bit because it's a bit of a unique one, which you'll understand later. Those of you who watched last night, you'll have already seen our last game recap, of course, because we had the game canceled yesterday. But Mike, talk to me a little bit about our 6-2 loss to Katuitt the other day.
6-2 loss to Katuitt, you mentioned it, here at McKeon Park. It was another game where the offense really didn't show up for the most part. Had one inning there. I think it was the 7th inning.
It was the 7th inning.
Bases loaded, 1 out. you got a couple runs across before that, but your bases loaded one out. You're expecting to at least bring in another run or two.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing after that. So overall, just another game where the offense really didn't get things going much at all at any point, and it was just a hard game to watch. If you're a Harbor Hawks fan, definitely Katuitt. They pitched a great game. They had a great game overall. A lot of home runs for Katuitt as well. That's been another thing where we've seen a decent amount of home runs surrounded by this Hyannis pitching staff. Overall, Hyannis' pitching has been solid, but if there's anything that you can pinpoint as to a negative, it has been the long ball, which has seemed to pick up as of late. Definitely something that they want to limit, but yeah, overall, a game to flush. We mentioned it yesterday, a game that Coach Carricker did not really seem too happy about, and 10th the last game of the season. Definitely want to just forget and move on and keep things going here towards the end of the year.
For sure, Mike. At this point in the season, you can go back the past week and say with complete certainty that this pitching staff has been the strength of this team to this point. However, like you mentioned, gave up 2 long balls in that losing effort to Katuitt. Brandon Compton had a 3-run shot later in the game. Devin Taylor out of Indiana with a 2-run homer to open the scoring. And unfortunately, like you mentioned, our bats couldn't get it going. Katuitt, though, a very formidable opponent. There's a reason they are the top dogs in the West as we currently record this episode. Very good team. You're going to lose games sometimes to good teams. This team just has to move on. They have a chance today against these Firebirds to get a big victory. But, Mike, let's look at Orleans, talk about their record. They dropped a game last time they played. Scheduled to play Katuitt yesterday. That was canceled. Talk to me about their loss to the Wareham Gatemen the day before that.
Yeah, they lost to Gatemen 2 days ago. Got an off day yesterday, if you can call it that. Overall, though, that loss for them was just a tough game that they want to move on from as well. Another tough opponent for them.
Mm-hmm.
We take on Katuitt and lose. They take on Wareham and lose. Those are the 2 top teams in the West.
Yep.
They're tough teams to beat, but there's no excuses in the Cape Cod Baseball League. Got to come away with wins in those big games. But Orleans really couldn't get their pitching staff going. You mentioned it. They've had a lot of success in that department, and really just in that game against Wareham, the pitching staff wasn't really on its best stuff, having its best game, and overall just surrendered a loss there. So definitely a game for them to flush. Definitely a game for us to flush 2 days ago. Got a little bit of an off day. Maybe things bounce back. Everyone turns things around. Should be a close game tonight, and hopefully the Harbor Hawks come out on top.
For sure. Couldn't agree more, Mike. It's time to talk about that starting pitching matchup. Before we confuse you guys and talk about what we're seeing on the Orleans side, Mike, talk to me about Kieran Cawhey, the Hyannis starter.
Kieran Cawhey, 6'1" right-handed pitcher out of Kent State at school this spring. 42 innings pitched, 6.21 ERA, 53 strikeouts, and 18 walks. 5 starts in his 15 appearances at school. So far, one of the newer guys to this pitching staff for the Harbor Hawks so far. Only 2 appearances, 1 start. Has 6.2 innings pitched, so got a good amount of innings out of those 2 appearances, but hasn't pitched a ton on Cape. A 6.75 ERA, 4 strikeouts, 5 walks, and 4 hits allowed in that span. So definitely a guy that wants to pick things up. A lot of base runners through those first 2 appearances. You're looking at 5 hits or 5 walks and 4 hits. That's 9 base runners in 6 2/3 innings. It's definitely more than you would hope for. So definitely a guy that hopefully with the experience that he's gained is able to kind of settle in tonight, getting maybe through 9 total innings by the end of tonight. That would be a complete game. So hopefully he can pick things up, get things going, and just kind of bounce back after a tough first 2 outings where it wasn't really terrible in any sense of the mean, but compared to the rest of this pitching staff, it's definitely going to pop a little bit. But overall, he's been a solid arm that just needs to really get things going, and hopefully he can do that tonight.
For sure. The one good thing about him, Mike, is that limited sample size. We have seen only 2 appearances so far, so plenty of time for him to get those numbers down as he makes another appearance here tonight, and then going forward. So we'll wait and see what we get out of Cawhey today. Hopefully a great performance like the rest of the Hyannis pitchers have given us. But on the other side, let's talk about what we're going to see on the mound for the Orleans Firebirds. So regularly scheduled who would pitch today would be Brennan Seibert. We'll talk about him in a minute because the official starter is going to be Luke Litterall. However, at school this year, 21 appearances for Western Kentucky, 0 starts. So far on Cape, 7 appearances with only 1 start. Through those 8 total appearances, Mike, 16 innings pitched. So clearly he's not pitching deep into games. It's about 2 innings per appearance. So I expect him to use Litterall as a bit of an opener today, and I think we'll see Seibert appearing out of the bullpen. Of course, I can't confirm that. We know we'll see Litterall. We'll see if we see Seibert. let's talk about the guy we know we're going to see today, Mike. Talk to me about Luke Literal.
Yeah, Luke Literal, 6'5" left-handed pitcher out of Western Kentucky, as you mentioned, teammates with Blake Cavell here with the Harbor Hawks. You mentioned it, no starts so far, but he does have a lot of experience. 21 different games he got into, 31 in the third innings pitched. So you mentioned it, doesn't pitch deep into games, but coming in, shutting things down at a pretty high rate, a 4.31 ERA, 41 strikeouts, and 12 walks. And then so far on Cape, 7 games, 1 start. So he does have that start. We don't know if he went deep into that one. I guess we probably...
I couldn't find that, yeah.
Well, anyways, we'll see what he does tonight. 16 innings pitched so far on Cape, though. Just above a 5 ERA, 18 strikeouts, and 7 walks. So, again, we don't know exactly what Orleans is doing on their side of things, but we do know Luke Literal will be getting the ball to start the game. Who knows if he makes it out of the first inning. Maybe the Harbor Hawks just go crazy, and So we'll see what happens, but Luke Literal will be getting the start, and he's a guy that does have experience. Maybe not starting experience as much as just experience overall, but a guy that can come in and pitch a pretty good game overall.
For sure, Mike. And guys, if we do see Brendan Cyber, that is a guy who has success so far on Cape, but more specifically against us. Exactly a week ago today, we were in Orleans playing at Eldridge Park. Cyber got the start, the pitcher out of Vanderbilt. 4 innings, no hits, no walks surrendered, and 4 strikeouts for him. So he had a great outing against us. So hopefully he does stay on the bench. He's cold today and doesn't get the ball, but only one way to find out, Mike. We will see as time progresses today. With that being said, let's move on to my favorite segment, Mike. You know what that is. That's going to be the player of the game predictions. Big game. Harbor Hawks want to get back to their winning ways. They want to get hot at the right time, and right now is the right time as we head into this postseason. I'll give my pick first. Give you a second to think. The guy I picked very recently, that's Josh Tate, batting 9th today, the outfielder, the super speedy guy. Interesting lineup today, guys. We have Jackson West on the leadoff for the first time this summer. Bit of a lineup change. Try to get the juju moving a little bit differently as we've had some offensive struggles. Tate's a guy, though, who's come to Cape and done nothing but succeed. Every time the ball's in play, he's a threat to get on base due to his speed. And once he gets on the base paths, he's a threat from there on out. Can steal bags. If you bunt, he'll get over to second pretty easily. Very athletic player, makes him great defensively and a threat offensively on the base paths. So that's the kind of player I think we're looking for, Mike, to spark the Harbor Hawks. A guy who can help manufacture runs, something the Harbor Hawks have done earlier in this season, as you mentioned. Josh Tate fits that mold perfectly. So I think if we're going to get a spark and get a victory today, Josh Tate's going to have a hand in that.
100% love the pick. For mine, though, I picked him yesterday. I think I'm going to go double down. He didn't really get to play, obviously, so I'm going to pick Eddie Pelk, outfielder from GCU, getting back in the lineup today. I believe he's batting 4th, 5th in the lineup.
I think he's cleaning up today.
Hopefully he's cleaning up some runs. That would be really cool. But Eddie Pelk started out, I mentioned it yesterday, started out really hot, got on base 2 times in his first appearance on Cape, and didn't know if he'd be playing. Dealt with an injury at the end of the spring, and then over the summer was wondering if he'd be able to get into a game, into a summer league. Here he is at the best one in the nation. So Eddie Pelk seems excited to be here, seems energized, had a lot of success in his first game. And we've seen a lot of these Harbor Hawks have pretty hot starts to start their summer. And I think Eddie Pelk's going to be one of those guys continuing his success tonight against the Firebirds.
Love the pick, Mike, and I love you doubling back, giving your guy a chance to prove you right there. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that. I picked Aaron Sapper. He's not going to get the ball today, but that's all right, Sap. In my head, you pitched an immaculate game yesterday in Chatham against the Anglers.
He did not surrender any hits, any runs, any walks. So overall,
but no strikeouts either.
Yeah,
that was tough.
But
kept his pitch count very low.
Yeah, very low pitch count yesterday.
With that being said, guys, time for the last segment of the day. The drum roll.
Sorry if our microphone just got smacked around. Might have been loud. Sorry. Anyways.
Score prediction time, Mike. You want to go first?
I'll go first. I'm going to say this is going to be another low-scoring game.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to say 5-3 Harbor Hawks.
We're thinking very similarly.
Not super low-scoring.
Very similarly.
But 5-3 Harbor Hawks. I think the Harbor Hawks offense gets back on track a little bit. 5 runs isn't necessarily crazy or anything, but 5 runs should be enough to get you a game win in a game where your pitching staff pitches a good game. I think that will be tonight. Pitching staff will have a good one, and the offense will get things going back on the right track. Maybe not the explosion that we're hoping for, but I think we'll get back on the right track tonight.
Mike, I almost completely agree. I'm going to say the Harbor Hawks do score 5 runs. completely agree there. But the Orleans Firebirds only put up 1 on the board.
Wow.
I think this is a complete game, which is going to really energize this team. Like you mentioned, 5 runs is not an offensive explosion, but it's a good chunk of change. And then only 1 run surrendered by your entire pitching staff through 9 innings. That's something you can't help but be excited about. So we're going to win 5-1 against the Orleans Firebirds. Pitching staff will be happy. Offense will be happy. Coaching staff will be happy. And this team start a little snowball effect, hopefully, rolling on into the Cape Cod Baseball League playoffs, feeling good about themselves and feeling good about their chances, Mike.
And we'll be happy, too. If
Oh,
that happens.
for sure.
I think everyone will be happy. The whole organization.
Mhm.
Maybe not the Orleans Firebirds.
Likely not.
They'll be sad. But someone has to be sad at the end of the day, and unfortunately, that's just the way it is. That's life.
Agreed, Mike. That is life. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Mike, thank you so much for joining me. Come to McKean Park tonight, and if you can't, catch us right here on the Harbor Hawks Baseball Network on YouTube, over on Cape League TV for our matchup against the Orleans Firebirds. Go Hawks!